Grand Rising. Let's have a little chit chat. So, something that I've learned while on my journey is there comes a time where you realize that your presence is doing more harm than good. And let me explain this a little bit. There was a time in my life where I gave so much grace. I shared the wisdom. I shared the warnings. I stayed way longer in certain situations and paradigms, way longer than I was guided to. And I realized that when you are someone who is guided or placed into people's lives to, by source, by the divine, to offer them another way, another path, another perception, a loophole of sorts out of their suffering, out of their experience, and due to the inverted lens they are operating from, they attack you and they target you, and they choose to instead abuse that in which was placed in order to, as a guide, essentially. Because so the thing with spirituality and guides is the divine source, God, can work through anyone and anything, because God is all and God is truth. So there are certain people that might manifest into your experience as a guide. It's like the divine giving you a hand and saying, hey, there's another way, come this way. If you are a guide and you act as a guide for source, for the divine in people's lives, and you realize, you'll know this with your discernment, with your intuition, you'll know when a cycle must come to a close, when your presence is actually acting as a block and a buffer between that individual and the war that they're at with themselves. You are basically, there comes a time in any cycle, especially karmic cycles, where you realize that you are the block between that individual and the mirror. And so that everything that that individual would learn from facing themselves, which is where growth and ascension and truth and connecting with the divine, where that happens, you will start to realize that you are acting as a block between that person and themselves. And you will know this because it will feel as if you are standing, it will feel as if you are guiding a firmly planted brick wall. And what will end up happening is, because you are blocking, you're creating that block between that person and their mirror, the divine, their mirror, them being able to look at themselves, which is the only way, that evolution of the soul can happen. The way that source will clue you in that you are doing this, you have become the block. You have become the block, and you're no longer the guide, and you have overstayed your mission in that person's life, is that they will start directing everything that would be reflecting back to them if they were to look within, if they were to look at themselves. All those subconscious wounds, all those inner demons, all those things that are screaming for that person's attention, for that person's love, for that person to sit with those aspects of themselves, to accept those aspects of themselves, so that they even have the opportunity to transmute those shadows. They will start projecting all of those things directly at you. it will feel like a spiritual assault, because it is. And it is assault because you standing there and being that block between them and their self, you're taking the entire hit. It's like the person's subconscious starts screaming at you to get out the way. I mean, that's how I visualize it in my head. It's like, here's the mirror, here's the individual, here's you, the guide. There comes a point where the guide becomes the block. And if you continue and you stay, and you, of course, it'll be coming from, you know, a place of love, a place of grace, a place of wanting to, you know, to guide, to be of service. But that can be a toxic trait, you know, your own subconscious that you might be ignoring is when, if you are a guide and, you know, you are a light worker, is once you've reached that point where you are no longer the guide, you are the block to this person facing themselves, and you are caught in the crossfire of that person's war that they are waging with themselves, because you're blocking their only path to themselves. You get what I'm saying? I really hope that this is making sense. I'm a very visual thinker. I think in pictures. That's why a lot of like my writing, well, I guess I haven't shared like a lot of my other type of writing, but I use a lot of like sensory things, like taste, like touch, like sound, and what things look like, what they feel like, what they smell like, because that is how I think. It's very cinematic. But anyways, the way that I visualize it in my head is, you know, it's this person and then it's their mirror. And their mirror is them. Their mirror is their higher self. Their mirror is their subconscious that needs to be shaken awake and brought into the conscious light of, you know, their reality, so that they can start doing the work, so that they can see, you know, people don't know, you know, people can't know what they don't know, if that makes any sense. And if you're a guide, or you were a guide and now you are a block, you will know that by just the vitriol and chaos and pain. You will feel that shadow. You will feel yourself being hit from both sides, from the back and the front, to get out the way. And so it's important that if you are, you know, a light worker and you are someone who's been called to guide, that you discern when it's time to get out of the way, because we don't want to block people from themselves when we know that that is the only path to ascension and healing, when we know that that is the only way out is in. Once you become a block between a person and themselves, you've got to go. You've got to move. You've got to release them with love. And they may not see it that way, okay? They might see it as abandonment. But again, that's a wound that is calling for their attention, you know? They might feel abandoned. They might feel slighted. They might feel like you're the worst person ever. But that is love. That is you moving from a place of love. And that is you staying true to divine, you know, order and you know how to navigate these things. Anyways, this message is for the guides, and I hope this helped shed some light on some things. I am sending y'all so much love to the universe and beyond. Bye.